Deshmukh, it is a real pleasure to have you here. For the benefit of our audience, and if they don't know you already, that is, I would love to introduce you. Mrs. Deshmukh is a renowned senior lawyer with professional experience in family law for over 2 decades. She's graduated in economics from St. Xavier's College and also did her master's from Government Law College, an alma mater to many of us. She holds an LLM in commercial law and matrimonial law. Mrs. Deshmukh has appeared and argued in almost every family law matter in every trial court as well as the Supreme Court of India, and has handled basically every divorce case we've heard of, coming to be known as India's celebrity divorce lawyer. Due to the volume of international cases in her career as well, Mrs. Deshmukh has mastered obtaining a mirror order from Indian courts for matters under foreign jurisdiction. She's dealt with cross-border cases relating to marriage and ancillary issues as well, and has been invited to give legal opinion in various foreign courts in the US and UAE. Mrs. Deshmukh, while being famous for shredding her opponents in court, for which she's earned the title of Tigress, is also known for her contribution to academia in general, be that teaching, judging various moot court programs, and even writing. Her book on divorce, Breaking Up, Your Step-by-Step Guide to Getting Divorced, gives us an overview of Indian family law and just an insight into cases that she's personally handled. The Queen of the Family Court, Mrs. Mrunalini Deshmukh, thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to speak to you today.
Thank you very much, Ashna. It's indeed a great honor to be sort of interviewed by such bright upcoming lawyers, and I think there's a great future for the Indian judiciary with lawyers like you who are so enthusiastic, and I'm so happy to meet you. I cannot say how much.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me, really. I think we can get straight started into talking about your journey and just a few questions that we have for you. So our first and most basic question would be just what prompted you for a career in matrimonial and family law? Because we just hear civil, criminal. Matrimonial law is a field we don't necessarily know very much about. So can you just tell us a little bit about your journey, your break of 14 years, and insight into your decision to do family law?
So absolutely. So I started as all lawyers in the 80s started by working in the High Court, doing civil matters, service matters, and other writ matters which were there. So this went on for a period of a year or so. And thereafter, I was expecting my first child. And there I took a break. I had my boy was born in the year 1983. Then thereafter, my daughter was born in the year 1987. I felt it was absolutely my prime duty to take care of them, personally attend to them. Yes, I was always passionate about my career. Yes, I always wanted to work, I wanted to learn, I wanted to practice law. But then I said, I should know what my priorities are. And that's the reason I thought I will take a sabbatical till such time that my kids are a little more independent, and you know, one can always wait for that. I don't know whether that was a good decision, bad decision. I have no idea looking back, but I can surely say that it's a very gratifying and satisfying decision, which I, as a mother and also as a professional, feel. Now, then what happened was, after a break of 14, 15 years, which was there, it was just coincidence. It was divine intervention. It was just, I don't know, everything fell in place. We started living in Bandra. And when we moved into Bandra, the family court happened to be absolutely a stone's throw away. And that's the time when I thought of working. At the same time, the mother in me was not permitting me to leave my house for long hours because I wanted to be there when the kids came back at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock from school. So then I said, why don't I start practicing in the family court, which is just next door? I don't have to commute a lot. I can combine my work and this. Of course, I knew I would start in a small way. I would have to, I mean, you know, there's a struggling period. There is a period when you need to reestablish yourself because you may be a lawyer in the past, but then 14 years break is a big thing. And so I decided that let me start this in small way, in my own limited way, where I am able to combine both my sort of commitment as a mother, and also my commitment as a lawyer if I start getting cases. And so it was pure coincidence, to be very happy, to be very sort of honest, that prompted me to take up this kind of law. And then I developed an interest in the same thing. Obviously, that law was absolutely, I was new to it. I'd never done matrimonial law before. It was like sort of, it was a very, very virgin terrain for me. But I worked towards it. Well, yes, that's where we are.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's almost inspiring for many women, I think, across our network also, to know that you can take a 14-year break and you can come back from it and you can do something different, even if it means that you haven't been around for that long. So thank you for sharing that part of your journey. Moving on to just how family law has developed, I think Indian society, so to speak, is moving in a slightly progressive direction where cultural lines are less defined today than they've ever been, really. So India, being this melting pot of religions and customs, obviously has different sets of family laws across the board for every different religious group. So this, I think, would result in some kind of unequal treatment of people just because the laws are so different. So this major vacuum of having a uniform code, what would be your thoughts on the current system? And do you think that India would benefit from a uniform civil code?
Ashna, as most of us know, that our laws of, personal laws of marriage, divorce, inheritance, etc., are based on our personal laws of our religion. So they are based on religion, and that is why there is uniformity in some of those things, but there is not complete uniformity in all aspects of it, which is concerned. I have the sort of to say, the good fortune to have worked in every field, whether it was the Hindu law, it was the Muslim law, it was the Sharia law, it was the Parsi marriage law, it was the Special Marriage Act, and of course did a lot of things in the private international law in the fields of the matrimonial things also. So having gone through all these things, I mean, one finds that the problems are common, the issues are very common, the relief sought are also very similar. Then if such a thing is there, then why should there be these different laws which are there and which sort of in a way inhibit a particular section of the society, especially the women, as compared to their other counterparts, just because they belong to one religious sect which was there. Now, to give you a very simple example, you have seen the Supreme Court judgment in the Shaira Banu of the Triple Talaq, where it was banned. So if we had a uniform civil code that applied to all religions across the country without any kind of segregation, we would not have had to go through this entire exercise of, interpreting the religious custom, and the court coming to the conclusion that it is provided in the constitution, it is illegal, it is oppressive to the Muslim women, and so that is the reason I feel uniform civil code is the need of the hour.
We've also studied and know enough at this point to agree with you, especially, like you said, the Supreme Court case where each of us has then come to question, saying that, was this really fair? But yeah, thank you for sharing your insight on that. Just adding to an extra question where I'm comparing, again, I guess, the West to India. Talking about prenups, really. We see in the West that most couples get prenuptial agreements, even post-nuptial agreements. And I know that these are not really valid or legal per se in India, and yet we hear of many wealthy couples signing these prenups. So what would your thoughts be, and how can you share with us just what prenups really are, whether they're valid, and why, according to you, there has been a disregard of it by the Indian courts so far? Do you think it would be looked on as favorably at any point?
So, obviously, Ashna, as you said, that the concept of a prenuptial agreement, which by the very word it says an agreement to be entered between the intending parties of marriage, with regards to what happens in the event their marriages last till ever, till death do us apart, which is what the vows are taken, then what are the arrangements that should be needed to be taken care of in such a situation? So that is basically the concept of a prenup, as most of us know, but for those who are not completely aware of what it means. Coming back to this, yes, it's a very Western concept. Yes, it's a concept which is very popular if you read any tabloids or any of these social media, where it is the Hollywood, where it started with these prenups and then went on to the corporate sector. I'm talking about the Western country. It went on to the corporate sector, and you had Jeff Bezos, and you have so many other cases that we've come to see where these issues were sort of there. So the question or the relevance of that under the Indian context, which is there, is something that we all as students of law need to understand and need to appreciate. Now today, as we speak, much as you and I as lawyers sort of feeling very strongly about it, do feel that the prenup is the need of the hour, the law on that subject is not there. So that means today there is no such concept of a prenup agreement, which is there in the statute, which is a document, which is a legally valid executable document in a court of law. So there is no such thing. The reason for that has been that people feel that the concept of marriage, concept of family, etc., is slightly or more, no, I wouldn't say slightly, but to a large Western counterpart. For us, if you see, for example, if you see a Hindu marriage is a sacrament. So you have to do the Vedic rites, you have to do the feras. There are certain commitments you give to each other in front of the holy fire, before the priest and other the elders which are there. So if this is a whole way of looking at a marriage, then is it something that you can have a private contract where you will decide what is to be done? So it was taken to be against, if you see Contract Act, it was supposed to be against public policy. So, I mean, it is not that it has been tested, but these are the discussions that were going on, that this would be against public policy. And as you know, that any contract against public policy can be struck down as being null and void. But having said this, today, and I can share my experiences as a lawyer, I do get a lot of questions and queries and requests for drawing up prenups in India, of people wanting to get married in India, where either both the parties are Indians, or where one of the parties is an Indian, the other is a foreigner, and also with cases which are there where they are getting, these are all the people who are getting married in India. And there could be also cases where people are getting married outside India, and what would be the clauses that would be compatible with the Indian laws. So of course, as I say to you, as I say the same thing to them, that listen, this is not something which is valid. Tomorrow, God forbid, you all get into it. If you ask me to get it executed verbatim the way any other document is executed, will I be able to do that? As we speak, no. But at best, we can do it as some kind of a memorandum of understanding between the two of you as husband and wife, who are entering into the wedlock and who are wanting to how do I put it, enumerate certain terms and conditions in the event of a divorce. So we could have an MOU which is there. The validity or the acceptability of that in a court of law would be as much as to show the intent of the parties at the time when they signed it. And the intent of the parties would be considered by the court. I'm not saying 100%. There could be, ways and means of challenging that also, as a lawyer. But broadly and at a macro level, it could be considered as an intent of the party. The other thing which I also make it absolutely clear, for example, let me give an example. If a man walks in and he comes and says that, listen, I'm going to get married to this lady, and we are both agreed, we both discussed that we are in love. We don't want to get into any kind of squabbles. God forbid something happens. We want you to draw the terms for me. I have been given your reference by so and so. Will you help us draw it up? So the first thing that I say that yes, let me understand what it is. Let me help you to work around this document which is there. But I tell the girl who has not approached me, but the boy who's approached me, that listen, once I do the document, I want you to have an independent legal opinion. Do not be carried away or be impressed by what I say because your husband has brought you to me as a lawyer. And one of the clauses that I put together for you is that both the parties take an independent legal opinion with regards to this document, its validity, and its executability. Now, with these kind of things, we are doing them a lot. In fact, I would like to share also that the National Commission for Women at Delhi had also organized a seminar for the prenups in which they had invited me as one of the keynote speakers. Of course, there's people like NGOs and others were there, but I was there as a lawyer. And they wanted to know that if the commission was to make a recommendation to the Law Commission, that is the Women's Commission were to make a recommendation to the Ministry or to the Law Commission regarding the prenups to bringing it, because litigation really robs a lot of people of their time, emotions, money, and a lot of other things. So whether we could do this is one of the aspects which was there. So I gave my views, whatever I felt about it, and now they are mulling over. So the very fact that the Women's Commission of Delhi thought about the concept of prenups to be something to be debated and discussed, and if approved by a majority to be recommended to the Women's Commission, to the Law Commission, then I think that's really picking up because that's what everybody wants it. Similarly, as far as the post-nup agreements are concerned, which is very popular overseas again, is being done in some cases in India also. And this is being done basically if the parties have been having some disputes and they have sort of reconciled those disputes. But they want to have clarity in them what manner the relationship is going to. That is what is captured in a post-nup agreement. Again, the post-nup agreement is a private document, like a prenup agreement, which is a private document, and the courts are going to test those documents if it comes before the court on the grounds which are equitable, fair, and appropriate.
Wow, thank you for that lowdown. I definitely did not know enough about prenup and post-nup agreements in India. So I really think that would be useful and helpful for anyone looking to get married and anyone looking to draw one up. Practicing family law just seems really personal. I think there's emotions involved, families, relationships, people. So just to understand from a human point of view, how do you deal with other people's emotions? How do you compartmentalize that? How are you able to process, applying the law over just dealing with families?
So to be very honest with you, it's been a long journey of going through emotional turmoil also, because once one started, one never knew that one was going to be dealing with so many issues in the course of the practice. Because when you talk about divorces, when you talk about family law, there are various aspects of it. There is a divorce, which is a dissolution of marriage. There is something also what is known as, in our law, the child custody issues which are there, which are the most delicate and the most sensitive ones. And I think those are sometimes a little painful also to deal with the emotions of the child and the two parents who both love the child and who both want the child, but they obviously, there's one child or maybe there are two children, you can't separate them. So dealing with these emotions has been a challenge for me in the initial stages also, to be very honest with you. In fact, I like to share my own personal thing. This was just in a year or two in my practice when I was dealing with a child custody case. The couple was a doctor couple, and the mother was my client, and the child was around the 9 years old girl was there. The mother had the custody and the matter was in the court, and the court had passed an order that the father should have visitation right. Rightly so. I mean, obviously that is a right of the father that he should meet the child and do that. However, for reasons, whatever they may have been at that point of time, the girl was not willing to go, the little girl was not willing to go to her father, and she was called in the court. And I was standing there, and the court asked her to come, and there was nobody in the court. It was only the father, mother, father's lawyer, and me and my client, and the child was there. And the court very lovingly asked the child that listen, I am the judge. I am like your grandfather, and I am now directing you that you have to go and be with your father for 2-3 hours. I'm not taking you away from your mother. But he explained it to her very well. But the girl was just not willing to go. And she was standing next to me, and I still remember Ashna. She just came and she clung to me. She must have been just a little near above my knees or so. She just came and she clung to me, and she just started crying, and she started telling me that, Auntie, I don't want to go. Please do something. Please tell him something. And while she was doing, I was keeping a face, a front of being a lawyer, being very, very sort of, not sort of, affected by the emotions. But the child, sort of hugging you and crying was making me feel terrible about it. And after 10 minutes or so, I just broke down in the court. And, whilst I was arguing, the tears just started rolling, and the judge could sense that. And the judge stopped the proceedings. When the judge stopped the proceedings, the girl was, he told me, just go and tell the mother to calm the child. We can talk about it a little later. There's nothing about it. So we said, okay, the next date was given. Before I was leaving the court, I got a call from the court peon came to me, and he said, ma'am, the judge wants to come and meet you. So I said, oh, yes, I did something wrong. I shouldn't have broken down. I'm a lawyer. Maybe that's why the judge wants to sort of speak to me. I went into his chambers, and I said, sir, I'm sorry. Whilst I was arguing, I did break down. And I apologize. This should not have been done by me as a lawyer. So he also extremely a fine gentleman he was. He made me sit down, offered me a glass of water, and he said, listen, it's not about you breaking down. I know you were very passionate about it. You did your best, and I have to do my work as a judge. I said, of course, I'm not questioning that for even a moment. But he's saying you are very young in this profession. You're just a year or 2 years in this profession. And I just want to tell you, as a person who's been in this profession for long, that if you have to practice this law, you have to learn to control your emotions. You have to learn to look at it in a very objective manner, because only then will you be able to advise and guide the client. And do feeling for a cause and doing it is one part of it. But as a professional, you need to be extremely objective. I think that one lesson that was told to me by the judge then has always remained with me. And that has helped me to deal with matters that come to me, which within me, I may be feeling extremely sad, maybe feeling very, very distressed about it. But then as a professional, I have to do my job in a very dispassionate manner and in a very objective manner. So I think these are the things that you learn over a period of time to control your emotions and look at it in a professional manner.
Definitely a challenge, I think, especially for women who are, I mean, I would hate to stereotype, but I think women are more in touch with their feelings. So, and do care a lot more for causes, people, everything. So that would be really hard to do. And I can't even imagine challenges like these. And I'm sure there are many across the spectrum that emotional response is not the only thing that's a challenge. So what, according to you, would be a prevalent challenge across the field, specific to India, that you would want to see done away with? And in your opinion, how do you think these challenges currently affect the state of our country, and how do you think they can be removed?
So honestly, I think, and this is something which I would like to share as a lawyer to young lawyers like you, some of whom would like to take up matrimonial law or family law as their part of the profession or their career. I think one thing that you need to know is, if you are going to work as a family lawyer, you have to encourage as a first option for parties to come together. I know you're not a shrink. I know you're not a counselor. I know you're a lawyer and you're supposed to do what your client says. But there is something much more than that, and that is the human angle. Because in my career, I have seen that people come to me in the heat of the moment. They really don't want to divorce, but they're just overreacting. Sometimes there are certain circumstances that compel them to come and say all those things. At that point of time, my job, which I had learned over a period of time, is to calm their nerves, ask them to relax, understand what they are going through, give them options which are more positive and proactive rather than destructive and things like that. because if you can bring and sort of iron out the differences between them, or help them to kind of understand that it's not all that bad, that you need to sort of, get done with the relationship, then I think that's a great service you are doing, not only to the couple, but to the society at large, and more importantly, to your conscience as a professional. Secondly, if that is not possible, you also have to encourage your clients not to litigate. Now, this may sound very, very ridiculous. Then how can a lawyer say, don't litigate, don't fight? Now, this is where you need, and probably this comes more with an age and experience over a period of time, that at every time the effort should be, if separation is inevitable, if divorce is inevitable, then work out the terms and conditions to do it in an amicable, in a graceful manner, and no settlements happen, which is a 100% win-win situation for either of them. So you have to explain to them that how it is that you have to give in something, you have to take something, and this is the way, because that's only a long-term solution to the problems. Fighting in the courts and one party winning, then the second party goes to the other courts, and then you are just sort of languishing in the courts for nearly 10 years, or if you go right up to Supreme Court. I mean, this is not the agony or the anguish that I would like them to just continue in their life. I would rather talk to them as a professional and try my best to drill some sense of an amicable and a graceful separation, if that's what it is, because that's long lasting. So every lawyer who needs to go, who wants to practice this law, I would surely urge upon them that consider talking to your clients to settle amicably. Do not suggest litigation, filing of complaints, ruining that person. I'll put you behind bars, I'll put the other person doing this. These are very short-term highs that your client might get, or you might get as a lawyer. But that's really, really should be a last resort in all genuine cases and all cases which are there. But otherwise, try and talk to them and prevail over them to do it in a graceful manner.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's actually very positive, a very positive take back, especially when we're talking about something like divorce. But speaking of it, and coming to the question, honestly, that I've been dying to ask you, every time we see celebrities having falling outs or divorces, we see this news slapped on all kinds of print media, be it newspapers, magazines, social media. So just being a divorce lawyer to some very well-known celebrities, would you be able to comment on just the effect that media attention has on celebrity divorces, and how you manage to isolate your client or keep your client away from any kind of negative media attention?
To be honest with you, a divorce of a celebrity obviously catches the eyeballs of the public at large, the social media now, and the print and the electronic media also, because they are in this kind of a profession, or they have a kind of a profile which attracts the attention of everybody, the public at large. So obviously something which is personal in their life will also attract the attention of. So obviously even those people are really, they can manage the crowds. I mean, I have so many of them which I have dealt with, and the one common question everybody says is that, no, we are okay. I mean, there are people who will sort of, mob us or do that in the court. They ask me that, what if we go to the court, what would happen? They are wary about the media being around in the court. So obviously for them, the media can twist and turn and, sort of give any distorted versions is what they feel. So I think to a large extent in such cases also, we are able to tell them that, that this is something which is inevitable. Once the matters go to the court, it's in a public domain. The press is going to come to know about it, and probably some of the social media are also going to, learn about it. And they're okay with it. They're okay with it, except where there are, serious allegations and, sort of accusations which are made. The other thing which I would like to tell you about most of these, and I would say out of 10, 8 out of 10, all of them decided to end their relationships in a very graceful manner. Very few you find where there is a fight A against B. or case may be. So I think my experience, and I don't know about the others, but speaking for my kind of clients, I think this is what I have noticed in my profession.
So it just really seems like even you have to do a lot of adjusting and speaking to and just settling a situation. So how do you think the skill set that is to be possessed by a commercial lawyer is different from that is possessed by a family lawyer? Just from everything that I've heard from you, it definitely takes an emotional toll. It definitely has some kind of humane aspect to it. So why would a corporate lawyer be different from the requirements of a corporate lawyer be different than that of a family lawyer?
So the difference between, I mean, a corporate lawyer and a family lawyer is, corporate lawyer is dealing with objects. A property lawyer is dealing with a piece of land, he's dealing with an apartment. Corporate lawyers are dealing with companies, whether they're merging, mergers, acquisitions, and other agreements which are there. I'm dealing with human emotions. I'm dealing with human lives. I'm dealing with children who are caught into this at times the ugly war between the two parents. I'm dealing with people whose emotions go high and low, and it goes flip flop, and they just don't know where they are. They feel, because it deals with their lives. So I think it's more intense with this kind of things which are there. It's not easy. That's all I can say. But of course, every lawyer has to do his job to the best of his ability. Corporate lawyers also they do mega bucks job. We do mega human emotions job, is what I would like.
On a last note, can you just share one piece of advice with us that has stuck with you or that you have for women across the profession?
If I were to share my own example and talk about something for lawyers or even for women from this profession, is I think we are fortunate enough to be women or ladies, to the extent that we have this divine sort of quality in us where we can multitask, where we have this grit and determination. And I think we are emotionally stronger and more stable than our male folks, as I would call it. You should have a burning desire, as they say, fire in your belly, but at the same time, pursuing your career and pursuing your dreams, do not forget what your duties are also. You have to have that blend of sort of doing what are your commitments and also pursuing your dream. It's not difficult, and please let me know. It's not one that you have to give up to have the other thing. You can have both if you're able to do that in a very balanced manner, in a very equitable manner, and you can do that. And there is no substitute to hard work and your ambition to succeed in life. If you have these two things, which is, I think the world is at your feet. The world is at the feet of every woman who wants to pursue any career in life which is there. And I think that's all that I would like to say. Just believe in yourself. You know you can do it, because there are so many factors that are going to make you feel, will I be able? I didn't know how to draw an application for an adjournment, though I was a lawyer, because I took a break and I went to the family court. I had to ask the court clerk there, how do I do it? And I think there's nothing wrong in it. Because if you've had a break of 15 years, you may be a lawyer, but you don't know. So it's better to ask, will you please help me with this? And that is how you have to do this for the others also who are new in the profession. You have to give each person who is there a little bit of a helping hand to just come up till they pursue and they get into this entire sort of, whole sort of, how would I say, the pursuit of dreams and their professional growth, which is there. So I think that's all that I would like to say from my personal experience.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Deshmukh. I think our whole network is really going to enjoy this interview, and I can't wait to share it with everyone.